In 2025, the ultra-conservative family that made headlines on reality TV is hardly recognizable. Welcome to Plathville has witnessed dramatic splits, surprising reunions, and complete emotional and physical metamorphoses. While some PLA children have turned away from the family's rigid convictions, others have stepped up their efforts even more. Here's what actually changed and who is still alive in the Plath's world, from divorce to significant moves. Olivia PLA. Olivia PLA, 27, is at a turning point in her life. While one foot remains attached to the program that made her famous, the other is aiming for a future that is very different from the cameras, scandal, and heartache that characterized her 20s. Olivia formally asked to be released from her TLC contract in 2025. A simple yet impactful gesture expressing her wish to take back her narrative following years of agonizing publicity. It's the most obvious indication yet for Welcome to Plathville viewers that Olivia is prepared to step away from the limelight, the memories of her tumultuous marriage, and the emotional burden of the abuse claims that plagued her tenure on the program. Olivia has always had a complicated connection with the series. She immediately became a lightning rod in the PLA family dynamic after being introduced as Ethan PLA's opinionated, independent-minded wife. She was either praised by viewers as a voice of reason who challenged the family's rigid, closed-off worldview or condemned as the cause of the family's disintegration. Of course, there are many more layers to the truth. In addition to negotiating her marriage, Olivia has spent years dealing with the fallout from a very conservative upbringing and personal trauma, including allegations of emotional and religious abuse throughout her own childhood and while she was married to Ethan. Following their split in early 2024, Olivia started making conscious efforts to get better. She started concentrating on therapy, photography, and introspection after moving into her own apartment and reducing her social media profile. However, the specters of her history persisted, especially the video that was saved over the years of Welcome to Plathville. Her injuries were made public knowledge since she was on a reality show, particularly one that focused on a real and frequently traumatic marriage. Every argument with Ethan, every heartfelt admission, and every tense moment with his parents were recorded and examined. She requested to be released from her TLC contract in 2025, in part because of that. Olivia no longer desired her life to be packaged as content, according to people close to the production. According to reports, she complained about the editing of various scenes, believing it occasionally prioritized drama over reality. Although not totally surprising, the choice created a clear gap in the Season 7 plot until the teaser was released. In the Season 7 teaser, Olivia unexpectedly makes a fleeting but impactful comeback. Despite having little screen time, it is extremely intense and ends with what seems to be a tense reunion with Ethan. There aren't many details in the clip, but it shows the ex-couple sitting across from one another, in complete silence, with Olivia whispering, "I just want closure." The scene suggests unresolved pain, unanswered questions, and possibly the end of a relationship that has been falling apart in front of viewers for years. According to reports, the reunion scene's inclusion was painstakingly negotiated with Olivia, who established strict guidelines about what could and could not be filmed. According to insiders, she consented to the appearance in order to obtain emotional closure and provide a more truthful conclusion to her story, rather than to rekindle old turmoil. For Olivia, this had nothing to do with press coverage or fan conjecture. It was about turning the page after confronting the past head-on. Outside of the show, Olivia keeps improving herself and her prospects. She has started working on new artistic endeavors, such as a series of photo essays about gender and recovery, and she has started talking more candidly, however cautiously, about emotional resilience, mental health, and religious trauma. She is also rumored to be dating, however she has chosen to keep her next chapter private and has kept her private life private. Mariah PLA. Mariah PLA is paving the way for herself. Complicated, messy, and unquestionably hers. Mariah, the fiery purple-haired rebel from Welcome to Plathville, has been gradually removing herself from the emotional tangles of her family's history over the previous few seasons. And that distance is more noticeable than ever in Season 7. In order to face the difficult truths of who she is without the continual tug of PLA family drama, Mariah is shown purposefully removing herself from both her parents and her once close-knit sister group. As the new season begins, Mariah is making brave and occasionally hard decisions for her own development. She continues to pursue music, experiment with dress, and explore her identity, but at this point in her journey, she is more vulnerable. Mariah is considering whether some of the emotional wounds caused by the rules were self-inflicted, rather than just disobeying them. Fans have taken notice as she confesses in subdued voiceovers, "I thought getting away would fix everything, but the pain followed me." Maybe it was never just about them. There is conflicting criticism on Reddit. While some critique what they see as a recurrent narrative, others identify with her emotional journey. One user claims, "She's still playing the victim card," citing scenes in the teaser where Mariah considers her suffering without always accepting responsibility. Others contend that she is merely resolving trauma layers, which is difficult to accomplish in the condensed editing of a reality show. Although the criticism is not new, Mariah appears to be less impacted by it this season. She is no longer attempting to gain acceptance. Not from her family, not from fans. Mariah's growing sense of independence is emphasized in Season 7, especially when it shows her living alone in a tiny but bright Nashville apartment for the first time. Open journals, second-hand furniture, and the constant hum of music fill the room. She takes the time to write songs that are more in-depth than her earlier work. Emotional excavation, less heartbreak pop. In another plotline, Mariah is shown separating from her younger brothers, whom she used to be very protective of. One particularly noteworthy remark hinted to in a trailer confessional is, "I ran away to save myself, but the silence still screamed." Fans who recall her nurturing role during the family's disintegration may find her decision startling, but it is presented as essential. It's evident that she's not severing relationships out of bitterness when she tells the camera, at one tearful moment, "Every time I go back, I shrink. I can't grow if I'm still shrinking to fit." Her goal is to reconstruct herself free from the burden of other people's expectations. It's difficult to escape the past, though, even in her pursuit of selfhood. Mariah is still struggling with her feelings for her mother, Kim, whose contentious choices over the past few years, particularly her breakup with Barry, have caused the family to become estranged. Mariah is still aloof, but some of her siblings have made progress toward forgiveness. She chooses to take a long, alone drive with her dog and consider her need for emotional boundaries in a particularly heated scenario, skipping a family get-together. This season, there is additional conflict in her relationship with her brother Micah. Particularly in the early stages of their departure from Plathville, the two were once inseparable comrades. However, Mariah feels more and more out of sync as Micah re-establishes his relationship with Veronica and gets closer to the family. She admits in one film that it's difficult to watch people move on while you're still picking up bits they don't see. Season 7 isn't solely about suffering, though. It's about advancement. To get perspective, Mariah starts working with a voice coach, thinks about going back to therapy, and even considers spending a few months abroad. She hasn't entirely discovered herself, but these fleeting yet impactful signs of progress show that she's learning how to press on even when things aren't clear. Mercy PLA, Kasha, Amber, and Isaac. The four youngest siblings of the PLA family, Isaac, Amber, Kasha, and Mercy, have mostly stayed off camera in recent years, while the older children still dominate headlines and reality TV storylines. Their lives are nevertheless delicately weaved into the emotional tapestry of the family's developing narrative, despite their relative lack of attention in Welcome to Plathville's Season 7 spotlight. As the world observes their siblings, these younger paths are growing up in the long shadow of a broken family, navigating their own transitions from quiet milestones to poignant social media peaks. Of these more subdued revisions, Isaac, the youngest PLA son, is arguably the most noteworthy. Isaac, who is now 18, has accomplished a significant milestone by finishing his first flying training. He has always been interested in flying, and with the help of his elder siblings and his father Barry, he started taking lessons a few years ago. Isaac accomplished his first solo flight this year, a joyous accomplishment that was alluded to in passing Season 7 references and privately shared through family reports. It's more than just a passing phase. It symbolizes the loss of childhood and a sneak peek at the independence he's subtly establishing for himself. Fans who keep a close eye on the family have seen modest but significant updates from Barry's social media, even though Isaac hasn't been a major character in the reality series since previous seasons. Images of Isaac smiling in midair while wearing a headphone in the cockpit. A video showing him taxiing at twilight down an airport in Georgia. Despite avoiding the chaos that surrounded his elder siblings, Isaac exhibits maturity beyond his years with his clear way forward and calm focus. Isaac's interest in aviation carries on the PLA family's tradition of emphasizing practical skills and non-traditional routes to achievement, although it is now driven more by passion than by parental pressure. Amber, Kasha, and Mercy, the younger PLA girls, are safely hidden from the reality TV spotlight in the meanwhile. The girls, who are currently in their early to mid-teens, are growing up in a very different Plath household than the one that fans were introduced to years ago. The younger sisters are a part of a more subdued chapter in the PLA's history, as Kim and Barry's long-pending divorce remains unresolved and their elder siblings are dispersed throughout the nation. However, that does not imply that they are invisible. In actuality, the main source of information about their life has been Lydia's social media, where she periodically posts endearing, unguarded moments that allude to a deep and lasting relationship. One really touching Instagram story shows Lydia on the piano, with Amber and Kasha softly singing in the background. Mercy is seen cuddling up to Lydia with a guitar in her lap in another video that is set to mellow worship music. Lydia gently leads her while her tiny hands imitate ropes. These understated yet impactful peaks show how Lydia, while starting her own newlywed journey with husband Zach Wise, continues to serve as an older sister and spiritual guide. The PLA kids have always been united by their shared love of music, and Lydia is now carrying on that tradition in more subdued and intimate ways with her younger sisters. Although Season 7 of Welcome to Plathville doesn't specifically follow the younger siblings, their presence is felt at quiet and contemplative moments, particularly when Lydia and Ethan talk about the pressures of growing up PLA and the need to overcome generational norms. In one tearful confessional, Lydia says, "They're watching us. Even if they're not saying it, they feel everything." It serves as a moving reminder that although the cameras only follow a select few, everyone is affected by the family's public disintegration. Although they are currently working through their unresolved divorce, Kim and Barry have stated that they want to keep the younger kids safe from the mayhem. Barry continues to oversee the family farm and uphold order in the home, making him a constant presence in their daily life. Despite being more aloof, Kim has reportedly spent time with the younger girls on family church gatherings and off-camera weekends. Even while the family name continues to make headlines, both parents seem dedicated to providing Amber, Kasha, and Mercy with as regular a life as possible, despite their tense relationship. PLA. Ethan. Ethan PLA, who is 26, is at a new stage of life that is characterized by recovery, self-discovery, and the cautious optimism of fresh starts. One of the most closely watched and emotionally complicated relationships on Welcome to Plathville came to an end when Ethan and his now ex-wife Olivia PLA formally split in early 2024. Despite making their separation public, the divorce process has not yet been finalized, primarily because of administrative holdups and unfinished documentation. An annoying yet strangely appropriate conclusion to a relationship characterized by numerous levels of misunderstanding and unresolved conflict. Ethan has practically and emotionally moved on from the divorce, even though it may not have been officially finalized. On New Year's Eve, he shared a picture of his new girlfriend on Instagram, publicly announcing this new chapter. Although the caption lacked specifics, his description of her as patient, kind, and sweet said it all. A noticeable change in Ethan's tone, less defensive, more calm, and unquestionably hopeful, was immediately apparent to fans. According to reports, the woman in the post, whose identity Ethan has decided to keep largely secret, does not work in entertainment. Ethan made a conscious effort to preserve the simplicity and sanctity of this developing friendship. This metamorphosis is further contextualized in the Welcome to Plathville Season 7 trailer. Early looks show that Ethan is more grounded than in previous seasons, smiling more broadly and interacting with his family in lighter, more present ways. His screen time with Olivia used to be dominated by tense facial expressions and strained dialogue, but those days are over. Instead, scenes of Ethan discussing what comes next are shown to the audience. His plans, his hobbies, and most importantly, his wish to create a future based on peace and purpose rather than suffering or strife. Goal. Additionally, this change took time to occur. Years of deep disagreements over identity, family, religion, and the agony of their shared pasts led to Ethan and Olivia's split. Their relationship had always been linked with the drama surrounding the PLA family, especially Ethan's battle to break free from his rigid upbringing and help Olivia, who is also dealing with severe emotional wounds. Both of them frequently felt ignored and disregarded as their marriage turned into a battlefield of divergent worldviews over time. However, Ethan continued to grow even after the relationship ended. He briefly relocated to Minnesota, pursued his lifelong interest of working on automobiles, and started to rediscover himself, not just as a husband or son, but as Ethan, a guy gradually discovering who he is beyond the expectations of others. Ethan's close friends comment that his new relationship is tranquil and wholesome, which is something he hasn't experienced in a while. In addition to sharing his passion for antique vehicles and respecting his personal space, the woman he is dating is said to be free of the burden of years of dysfunctional family dynamics. Ethan has been observed smiling during informal trips, traveling more, and even attending family gatherings with less hesitation in recent months. Nevertheless, the specter of the unresolved divorce persists. Even though neither he nor Olivia have mentioned the other in recent interviews, it is clear that they are emotionally apart from one another. Both have made their own healing efforts. However, the official closure is still elusive, a lingering technicality in a story that has, in reality, already come to an end. Ethan is surrounded by a revitalized enthusiasm as he continues toward 2025. He isn't rebelling against his past or seeking glory. All he's doing is trying to survive. His priorities are now more apparent: calm, sincerity, and creating a life based on things that make him feel good in private. Ethan is at last becoming the person he was always intended to be, whether it's beneath the hood of a vintage automobile, in the arms of a more grounded love, or spending a leisurely morning apart from cameras and expectations. His own guy, not simply Olivia's ex. Not just a PLA. PLA Micah. Micah PLA is used to being the center of attention. He has spent a large portion of his early career juggling the conflict between personal freedom and family duty as the youngest PLA son in the public eye. But in 2025, Micah's modeling career and toned body aren't the only things being highlighted. His love life is generating the most media attention. His relationship with Veronica, a beautiful, bold, and ambitious young woman, has swiftly emerged as a major source of conflict among the PLA family as a whole as well as between the pair. What began as a fast-paced affair fueled by romantic getaways, beautiful Instagram photos, and shared activities has taken a more nuanced turn. It became apparent that not everyone was prepared to accept Veronica when she started to spend more time with the Plaths, especially at the Georgia family property. In many respects, the current drama feels uncannily familiar to viewers of Welcome to Plathville, who have witnessed this dynamic previously. In the Season 7 teaser, Micah himself makes reference to this when he makes a subtle yet incisive remark to Ethan. Veronica believes Olivia had the same idea. With a heavy tone, the statement alludes to the recurring emotional patterns that have long afflicted the PLA sons' relationships. Patterns of miscommunication, resistance, and the stress of integrating strangers into a close-knit, emotionally tense family. Ethan nods in familiarity rather than astonishment. He has experienced it from the start. There have been conflicts between Veronica and some PLA family members. Because of who she is, not because of anything spectacular she has done. Independent, vocal, and doubtful of the unwritten conventions that continue to influence some aspects of the PLA family dynamic. Like her predecessor Olivia, Veronica is torn between loving Micah and feeling alienated by the subliminal expectations and silent criticism that result from just not fitting in. Sources close to the production suggest that Veronica's harshest detractors could not be Micah's parents, but rather a few siblings and other relatives who feel she doesn't share their values. Veronica's presence has sparked feelings, particularly on the farm where metaphorical and emotional sparks have begun to fly again, regardless of her social media strategy, her straightforward communication style, or her refusal to play nice for the sake of family harmony. And in a now-famous moment hinted at in the teaser, tensions erupted during a return visit to the farm in the spring of 2025. Veronica reportedly called out the group's passive-aggressive behavior and sobbed as she left the table after feeling left out of a family dinner talk. Micah trailed behind, caught between maintaining harmony with the family and protecting his lover. Scenes from previous seasons where Olivia stormed out from similar fights and Ethan stood at the same emotional crossroads are hauntingly similar to this moment. Micah is more emotionally aware than ever, which adds complexity to his circumstances. He has seen Ethan's marriage fall apart due to family strife, and he is resolved to prevent history from happening again. But he also has a strong sense of loyalty to his family, especially his younger siblings, who continue to reside on or close to the farm. In private confessional interviews, Micah admits, "It's like I'm always caught in the middle. I love her, but I love them too. And I don't know how to be both people at once." Despite the drama, Micah and Veronica remain together for now. Their relationship has taken on a more introspective tone in recent months. Gone are the flashy Instagram couple posts and vacation snapshots. In their place are quieter, more reflective images, hikes, sunsets, and thoughtful captions about growth and communication. Insiders say the couple is in counseling, trying to work through not just external pressures, but the internal strain that comes with constantly feeling judged. As the season unfolds, fans are bracing for a familiar but emotionally fraught arc. A couple trying to build something real while caught in the long shadow of family expectations. But Micah is not Ethan. And Veronica, though reminiscent of Olivia in some ways, is carving her own identity, not as a disruptor, but as someone unwilling to shrink to fit. Whether Micah and Veronica's relationship can withstand the emotional push-pull of the PLA family remains to be seen. But one thing is clear. Micah is no longer the boy who once fled the farm to find freedom. He's a man now, searching for balance, craving peace, and learning that sometimes love isn't just about who you choose, but what you're willing to fight for. Lydia PLA. At 21, Lydia PLA has stepped into one of the most defining chapters of her life. A season of love, faith, and transformation. Once known to fans of Welcome to Plathville as the soft-spoken, deeply religious daughter who often held her family together during turbulent times, Lydia is now forging her own path with a spirit of quiet strength and conviction. Her marriage to Zach Wise, announced last fall and finalized on February 22, 2025, marks not only a personal milestone, but also a new beginning grounded in both romance and their shared Christian faith. The wedding took place on the PLA family farm, a site rich with emotional history for Lydia. The farm, once a symbol of family unity and later division, was transformed into a sacred and joyful space for the couple's union. The theme was soft blue, a nod to Lydia's calm and introspective nature. Guests described the event as beautifully simple and deeply reverent, featuring scripture readings, worship music, and personal vows that reflected the couple's devotion not just to one another, but to their walk with God. Lydia wore a modest lace gown, her hair curled loosely and adorned with delicate baby's breath. Her younger siblings played special roles in the ceremony, and despite the complexities surrounding her parents' ongoing divorce, both Kim and Barry were in attendance, though seated separately. The ceremony was not without its emotional moments, especially when Lydia paused during her vows to speak about trusting in God's timing, a sentiment that resonated deeply with those who've watched her navigate heartache, uncertainty, and change in recent years. Zach Wise, a 23-year-old with a quiet charisma and deep spiritual roots of his own, first came into Lydia's life through mutual church connections. Described by those close to the couple as steady, thoughtful, and devoted, Zach complements Lydia's introspective personality with a grounding presence. Their relationship unfolded largely away from the cameras, with Lydia sharing only brief glimpses online. Photos of long walks, shared Bible studies, and soft smiles under string lights. For Lydia, who has long valued privacy and sincerity, it was important to build the relationship without external pressures. Following the wedding, Lydia and Zach made the decision to relocate to Tallahassee, Florida, where they plan to build their first home together. The move signifies a deliberate shift, a departure from the family compound, and a step toward independence. Their goals are simple but profound: to live a Christ-centered life, serve in their local church community, and grow together in marriage. Zach is said to be pursuing work in youth ministry, while Lydia hopes to continue writing devotionals and possibly begin a Christian blog to share her journey as a young wife of faith. Those who followed Lydia's journey know this moment didn't come easily. In the years following her older siblings' departures from the PLA household and the unraveling of her parents' marriage, Lydia often became the emotional anchor, offering prayers, tending to younger siblings, and absorbing more responsibility than most teenagers should. But even in the most turbulent times, she clung to her spiritual beliefs. That same faith has now carried her into a season of fulfillment, joy, and renewal. Her marriage to Zach doesn't represent an escape from her past. It's a continuation of her story, one shaped by both deep-rooted tradition and personal growth. Though she remains close with her family, Lydia is carving out an identity that's no longer defined by the constraints of her upbringing, but by her choices, her faith, and the love she's building with Zach. As they settle into life in Tallahassee, the newlyweds are said to be focusing on simplicity, service, and spiritual intimacy. No flashy social media presence, no over-the-top lifestyle, just a shared commitment to walking together in God's purpose. For Lydia, it's not just the start of marriage. It's the blossoming of everything she's quietly hoped for. Kim and Barry PLA. As of 2025, Kim and Barry PLA remain legally married, though their divorce has now been stalled for over 3 years. A drawn-out and emotionally exhausting process that continues to take its toll on both sides. What once appeared to be a clear-cut separation has become a protracted and public ordeal marked by delays, miscommunications, and a growing emotional divide. At the heart of it lies a fundamental tension. Kim's urgent desire to finalize the divorce and move on, contrasted by Barry's continued entrenchment in their shared past, especially through the family farm and parental roles. Kim has grown increasingly vocal about her frustration with the legal limbo. In a recent candid interview, she didn't hold back. "It's been 3 years. I want my life to move forward." Her words carry the weight of someone who feels trapped in a story she no longer wants to be part of. She's rebuilt parts of her identity since the separation, launching new ventures, re-establishing relationships with some of the older kids, and embracing more independence. But the unresolved status of the divorce remains a symbolic and legal chain holding her back. In contrast, Barry appears far less rushed. While not overtly resistant, his actions, or lack thereof, suggest a man clinging to the structure that once defined his life. He continues to live on and manage their rural Georgia farm, the backdrop of their family's rise to fame on Welcome to Plathville. He still maintains routines steeped in tradition, caring for the land and staying actively involved in the children's lives. According to sources close to the family, Barry remains particularly close with the younger kids whom he sees regularly. For Barry, the farm isn't just a place. It's a connection to his role as a father and to the life he once had with Kim. Despite the separation, the two are still linked, not just legally, but through complex family dynamics. Co-parenting has proven to be another friction point. While some of the PLA children, like Mariah and Micah, have charted their own course away from both parents, others remain in the orbit of day-to-day decisions. Reports suggest communication between Kim and Barry remains strained, with both often relying on intermediaries or adult children to relay information, especially concerning the younger siblings still living at home or frequently visiting the farm. Privately, friends of Kim suggest she feels like she's constantly pushing against resistance, not just from Barry, but from a system that seems to move slower than her own need for closure. She's been quietly building a new life away from the strict rules and image that once defined her public persona. Whether it's exploring new relationships, resuming a more active social life, or just carving out her own space, Kim is eager to redefine what happiness looks like on her own terms. But until the divorce is finalized, she remains tethered to a shared past she's long ready to leave behind. Barry, meanwhile, hasn't spoken much publicly about the pending divorce, but those close to him describe a man who's quietly grappling with a shifting world. There's a sense that he hoped for reconciliation at some point, or at least held out hope that the divorce wouldn't come to define them. His continued presence at the farm is not just practical, it's emotional. It's a form of stability in a life that has otherwise unraveled.